I'll bet good money that from the moment you got up yesterday until you went to bed last night, you interacted with products from all over the world. Was your coffee grown in Costa Rica? Your bicycle assembled in China? Your app built by a developer in India? We all benefit from the wide variety of products that are traded around the globe. That's why this issue of international trade is so personally relevant to you and everyone you know. The Swiss multinational corporation, Nestlé, makes a host of products you may know and love, but it's been boycotted multiple times over the years. As one example, it falsely marketed its infant formula in low-income countries, which led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of babies. Or the time the Swiss firm sold bottled water that it illegally siphoned from our public lands. The rules for multinational corporations are established in trade agreements between nations. Liberals, conservatives, and radicals absolutely agree that when trade relationships break down, society loses out. They share the same goal of an improved standard of living through trade, but they strongly disagree on how to achieve that end. That's what all the fights are about when it comes to international trade. It's time to hear the voices.
So, about the Nestlé Corporation. All the pain and suffering it caused could have been prevented. No babies killed and no water stolen. How? With clear and enforceable rules, we can hold firms accountable. Multinational corporations make contributions that benefit the world, but only with sensible regulations and effective oversight. It's our responsibility to protect consumers, workers, and the environment from rampant excesses of profiteering. We're fortunate to have a strong and effective government that sets us up to succeed in the global economy. It protects our domestic interests by making sure we trade according to our comparative advantage. But not 100%. Moderate specialization gives us a higher standard of living through trade and lets us preserve industries and jobs here at home. We don't want to become a nation of rusted-out, abandoned factories. Also, we ensure our national security by keeping some production here in the US. Imagine what a scary scenario it would be if we relied on foreign countries to supply vital products, like food and military equipment. Fair market capitalism lets us partake in the riches of international trade, while safeguarding national security, fair competition, and jobs. Conservatives, when you get rid of trade protections, you might as well stick a note on the back of the United States that says, "Kick me." With unfettered free trade, there's no government oversight, so we get a bad deal every time. You let our economy get pummeled by trading partners that cheat by manipulating currency, subsidizing their domestic industries, dumping, pirating intellectual property, and more. Profit is important, but we can realize profit from trade without getting ripped off by a bad deal. Conservatives keep their blinders on and crow about store shelves that are stocked with low-priced foreign goods. But any price is too high when you don't have a job. And let's be clear, with no domestic competition, prices don't stay low for long. In free market capitalism, the world's mega-rich multinational corporations prosper at the expense of the rest of us. You radicals talk about global capitalism as if it's the big bad wolf. But what we really should be afraid of is democratic socialism. And you self-righteously stand there on your free trade principles and limit trade with capitalist countries to a trickle. Society is deprived of imports, quality of life goes down, no imports means no competition, domestic firms have no incentives to make new or better products, we languish with outdated goods and lackadaisical services. Inevitably, illegal markets for imports sprout up because people want and need those products. Next thing you know, the socialist government cracks down, and a minute later we're living under the thumb of bureaucrats. So, while radicals try to convince us to get on board with policies that limit trade, it's a nightmare ride. Luckily, it stalls out long before it has a chance to leave the parking lot. Now here's what we should do to have an improved standard of living through trade. Strengthen trade protections. Tariff and non-tariff barriers keep our domestic and international markets competitive. We restrict foreign direct investment and subsidize key industries here at home. That safeguards our national security. We never have to rely on foreign powers for survival. Because we have active government involvement, our businesses thrive. We punish cheaters, and we reward trustworthy trading partners. Plus, we protect our environment, workers, and consumers by having standards and regulations. And as global leaders, we influence our trading partners to do the same in their countries. Fair market capitalism strategically balances the risks and benefits of international trade so we can enjoy the best of all possible worlds. So, about the Nestle Corporation. No one condones killing babies or stealing water. But more regulations didn't convince Nestle to change its behavior. It was consumer boycotts that motivated the firm to stop doing harm. Multinational corporations don't want to lose customers, so they get rid of bad apples and bad policies. Problem solved, and we didn't need to weigh ourselves down with red tape to fix it. Our economy prospers when multinational firms are free to create jobs and bring us more products from around the world without needing permissions from governments or the World Trade Organization. And just think of the amazing progress we make when every country produces according to its comparative advantage, using maximum specialization. We get the best outcomes because land, labor, capital, and technology across the globe are allocated to their most suitable purposes. It means people on every continent have the products they need to thrive. And also, we become more interdependent, which promotes peace. When countries have to rely on one another for their food, cars, medicine, and more, there's a strong incentive to collaborate and cooperate. In every way, humanity is better off with free market capitalism. Radicals, as usual, you get in your own way and make problems worse. Your barriers to foreign direct investment are barriers to progress. Multinational firms help the world when they set up shop in developing countries. They create pathways out of poverty, indoor jobs where people learn valuable skills like how to assemble a motherboard or run a sewing machine. You want to take those jobs away. Radicals should be honest and admit that fair trade principles make them feel righteous, but don't help the world's workers. Refusing to trade with capitalist firms forces those companies to lay people off. Plus, the prices for fair trade products like bananas, cocoa, and coffee are pushed so high that consumers don't buy them. Even more workers lose their jobs. At the end of the day, democratic socialism creates poverty and keeps us on the sidelines of the global economy. Liberals, when a domestic industry struggles to compete with international competitors, you overreact to try to save those jobs. You slap on new tariffs and quotas and subsidize those failing industries. But they should not be propped up. Those jobs should be lost, so jobs that are right for the new economy can emerge. That's called progress. Consumers lose with your bad policies. They pay higher taxes and higher prices for lower quality products, and they have fewer choices. Plus, bleeding heart liberals want our country to be the world's police. That's disrespectful. We should stop presuming we know what's best for other countries. And playing politics with trade means other nations retaliate. We end up embroiled in trade wars and everyone loses. While the nations of the world offer up a feast of goods and services, fair market policies cut us off at the appetizers. Here's what we should do to have an improved standard of living through trade. Use free trade. Free trade liberates us from unnecessary government meddling and clears the way for robust international commerce. Countries come together in the global marketplace and trade freely for the latest temperature-controlled mattresses, the most advanced artificial intelligence, the smartest financial counseling, and everything that makes human life better. We get lower prices and more innovations, choices, and opportunities. Multinational firms help the world by moving capital into regions that are looking to boost their economies. They are the world's job creators. Their profit-driven efforts solve poverty and foster peace and harmony. Free market capitalism is our passport to building wealth and creating prosperity here and abroad. So, about the Nestle Corporation. Multinational firms in global capitalism make terrible choices every day because they have to. Their competitors are like hungry lions waiting to pounce at the slightest sign of weakness. That's why firms are forced to do things they find repugnant, including killing babies and stealing water. Capitalism is an economic system that destroys communities and devastates the planet. International trade in democratic socialism makes us better off. But here's the thing. The us includes our trading partners. Whether it's grain imported from Argentina or medications exported from the US, all workers are paid fairly and have what they need to thrive. When we trade with other democratic socialist countries, maximum specialization, according to our comparative advantage, means we trade freely. But when we trade with capitalist countries, minimal specialization ensures that we're never pressured to do the wrong thing. Our commitment to healthy communities spreads well-being throughout the world. It lets communities control their own resources, so foreign firms can't barge in and drain lakes, pollute the air, or move people off their native lands. We use trade relationships to prioritize well-being around the world. Liberals, your policies fail us again and again. Your trade protections may slow the loss of domestic jobs, but they don't protect us from workplace exploitation. You limit some foreign direct investment, but enable voracious multinationals to drain our resources for short-term profits. Wake up and realize that capitalism won't be fixed by a veneer of concern, and it won't be fixed by your tariffs and non-tariff barriers. Politicians in fair market capitalism are snugly in the pockets of corporate interest. So when there's a ban on cancer-causing fertilizers, a loophole appears that allows firms to make it for export. Farmers in other countries spray it on the foods we import, and now we're all exposed to those carcinogens. When cancer rates go up, liberals feel bad and wring their hands instead of admitting that international trade in capitalism is a bad deal for everyone around the globe. Conservatives, stop pretending that multinational firms have a commitment to any country or ideal. Their only loyalty is to profit. They're on a mission to own the planet, and your free trade policy hands it to them on a silver platter. You give them a passport to act with impunity. With all those profits, they buy up the media, the politicians, the courts, the educational systems, the workers, and us. Then conservatives export the lie that free trade and capitalism lifts our standard of living. Tell that to the unemployed workers in industrialized nations whose communities are turned into ghost towns of abandoned factories. Tell that to the workers in the developing countries who labor in sweatshops for 13 cents an hour. Free market capitalism doesn't lift any of us. It leaves human beings around the world sick, bankrupt, and dying from pollution. Here's what we should do to have an improved standard of living through trade. Use fair trade and collaboration. Fair trade is guided by international trade councils. They ensure that people in every country have safe working conditions, just compensation, environmentally sustainable production, and, of course, an end to child labor and forced labor. Collaboration happens through multinational cooperatives. They're key to global economic development. Instead of sailing in and taking over, they work with local communities. For example, they invest in capital improvements and offer expert consulting, technical training, and mentoring. They also make low-interest loans to foreign worker-owned firms. With international trade and democratic socialism, people everywhere can enjoy a comfortable standard of living. And justice spreads throughout the world, lifting us all to a better life.
You've just heard the arguments about international trade from 3 perspectives. They all want an improved standard of living through trade, but they have very different ways of achieving that goal. Now, it's time for you to be part of the conversation.